Today I wanted to talk a little bit more about the factors that impact an accurate tarot reading or an accurate card reading, especially card readings, the factors that impact the accuracy of card readings. And we often assume that when we lay out the cards that they should be accurate, that there is some sort of infallible mechanism that ensures that the cards will always show us true answers, right? And we take it on face value that the cards we're going to get will give us true answers, right? And often enough that is the case because there is some sort of universal mechanism at work behind sortilege. And that is kind of part of the software of reality. That's my opinion. The way that the universe is structured allows divination to work reliably, right? And that's why you will find divination, or that's one of the reasons that divination is found in every single culture throughout the world. We assume that all card readings will be accurate, for example, that the cards landing on the table are going to accurately portray events. But that is really not the case. If you've been reading for any amount of time, you will realize that sometimes the cards are wrong. And in earlier videos, I've discussed this a bit, and it's a great source of interest to me to diagnose what causes this breakdown and how to prevent it. And I have some ideas to share with you, things that impact accuracy. Okay, and the first thing that impacts accuracy, of course, is competence. You know, your capability. How capable are you at reading the card? So we've got to first rule that out. You should understand the system of divination that you're using. You should have some experience with the cards, and then if you've been reading them consistently, you're likely to get more accurate results. The next thing that really is very important for a card reading is state. And that means the state of the reader and also the state of the querent, right? And if you are very agitated, angry, sad, upset, or sick, likely the results in the reading are going to go a little bit weird. It's not going to be as accurate as you want, and especially emotional upset. You really want to calm down before you throw the cards, because the cards are likely to respond to your agitation and mirror that agitation back at you, right? So if you think the world is ending, the cards are likely going to show you, yes, that the world is ending. And I like to say sometimes that the cards can be cruel, and I found that to be quite true. So rule number one is calm down. And similarly, when you have a client coming to you, if they're very agitated, I do my best to first calm them down. If they're crying, if they are in a state of distress, first, or very angry, which sometimes happens, then I try to calm them down and get some sort of serenity and peace before we start, or it's going to impact the reading. Or I postpone the reading. I'll say to them, listen, maybe now is not a great time, maybe you need to sleep on it, and then tomorrow we read on it when you are calmer, because we're going to get the reading is going to be better, it's going to be clearer, it's going to have less emotional interference. And then in that same vein, it's often useful to adopt an attitude of detachment when throwing the cards. It's normal to want things to go well. It's normal to prefer a better outcome. But our real approach should be very prayerful. It should be our greatest desire should be to want to know the truth. We should want to know the truth. That is our main objective with card reading. We want to know the truth. It's not that we want an outcome, but when we are divining, we want to know the truth. And if we can come into a reading with that attitude of, above all, what I want from this reading is not to hear the thing that I want to hear, but that I'd rather have the truth. And if you're a professional reader, you will often find that if you have a client coming to you and they have a great investment in their story, they are more likely to want to tell you the whole story before the reading begins. Now, I, as a rule, like to prefer to read without any information from the client other than receiving the topic or the question. And the reason for that is because the onus is on the reader to provide proof of your skill as a psychic. And one of our abilities as a psychic worth their salt, or a reader worth their salt, should be able to provide information to the querent about their problem that they couldn't have known. And this not only creates confidence in the reading, and it will give the client a valid basis for accepting the advice and the auspices that you give, because you've demonstrated your ability as a reader, right? So one of the things that I have on my website and that I say to clients is, please don't send me the whole story. I prefer to read without any information other than the question and the topic, because it gives us a clearer reading. But often you will find that clients who have a strong investment in having a particular answer, receiving a particular answer, or having their ideas validated, will insist on telling you the story before the reading begins. And for me, this is very telling. It's a great diagnosis that this person is very fixated, that they are not going to listen to any advice, or they're less likely to take the advice that the reading provides them, because they've really come to the reading with the intention of having it validate their preconceived idea. And they want a particular answer. They're not looking for the truth. They're looking for substantiation of an action they're about to take, or they're looking at something to substantiate the story that they've contrived about the situation, and that's why they've come to the reading. And a reading is not about that. A reading is never about validating what we want to hear. It might happen, which is nice, and often it will. A good reading will often validate our instincts. And if a client says to you, wow, on the deepest level I knew that was the case, that's not surprising. A reading will do that. But if someone comes very heavily invested with their story, you will find it's going to be much harder to give a clear reading to them, and that in fact can skew the reading. It can impact the reading. So even for when reading for yourself, adopting an attitude of absolute detachment and a sense of scientific inquiry, really, which is an odd kind of thing to bring to a card reading. But the sense is here is that I am looking for the truth, and I'm hoping above all to understand the situation and to see the truth in it. And that spirit of inquiry is going to really allow the tool to speak with freedom and clarity. The last point that I want to bring up, and I blogged about this some years ago, is what I call the Tao of the Shuffle. Yeah, and for some reason there is a correlation between what is going on in the mind of the reader while they are randomizing the cards and laying down the cards, right? And you will find that if your mind is if you're shuffling and your mind is not on the question when you're randomizing the cards and you lay out the cards, then the reading is going to be quite wonky and off, right? And there is a correlation between your ability to tune in to the question while you're shuffling or while you're randomizing the cards in whatever way you do. Some people wash the cards, some people shuffle the cards, and your ability to get accurate answers. And one of the techniques that I like to share with people to help sharpen that ability is that while you are randomizing or while you are shuffling the cards, as you do that, try and also receive imagery and psychic information at the time, right? So you're not just thinking on the question abstractly, but you're actually trying to you're opening your mind up and seeing if you can receive any symbols, colors, any psychic information as you are randomizing the cards, right? And then you lay the cards down. And then what you're going to find, firstly, is that the process of attuning to the question psychically in that way, the process of opening yourself up psychically to receive information, is also going to calibrate the cards in such a way that the outcome or the way that the cards fall are going to be spot on. That's the first thing. The second thing that you're going to see is that the psychic information that you are going to receive will be reflected in the cards. And that is really cool. You might be shuffling and you see dark imagery, dark colors. You might see some turmoil. You get a sense of turmoil. It could be very fleeting, but there is some sort of psychic impression. And then you look at the cards and you see the cards. There is turmoil in the cards, or there are lots of black cards, for example, right? And immediately you have got some information to go on, and it's a great launching point for a reading, right? It provides extra information and extra accuracy, and in fact you are expanding your abilities by working in that way. But more than that, this method of tuning in psychically, and what I'm meaning here is as you are shuffling or as you're randomizing, you are opening yourself up to receive images or feelings or sensations or smells or sounds. The people's psychic sensitivity operates in very many dimensions, and we sometimes assume that it's going to be visual, but some people are more clairsentient. They have psychic sensations and feelings. So you might be shuffling the cards and you suddenly feel this feeling of joy and elation, right? And then you lay out the cards and already you have a sense of joy and elation, and it's going to change how you interpret the cards based on that feeling. But more than that, the mechanism of tuning in as you shuffle the cards somehow calibrates the cards so that they are more accurate, so that the cards that do come out are going to accurately reflect the situation of the querent or your own situation, right? Big difference to the situation where you might be shuffling the cards and you're thinking about dinner, or you're thinking about next week's business trip, you're thinking about all kinds of things, but your mind is not on the question whatsoever, right? Then you lay out the cards and it's nonsense. It's nothing in the cards matches, and it doesn't make sense. It's not surprising then that's the case, because the mechanism functions through your tuning in to some extent. And then lastly, when the cards come out, right, you should have enough familiarity and enough confidence in the cards to see and to recognize patterns and signs that the reading is accurate and it is speaking about the situation. If you see nonsense cards, what I like to refer to as nonsense cards, and it seems that this reading is off and you have a strong sense that it might be off, then probably it is, yeah? And it might behove you to pick up the cards, tune into the question again as I described, and then lay out the cards again. And you might find that the second time it's going to be crisper. And provided that you are a competent reader, you're not doing that because you don't understand the cards. There is a difference between not understanding the cards and nonsense cards. Nonsense cards happen when, as a reader, as a competent reader, you see this reading on the table somehow is not speaking about what you want to speak about, or what you want to hear. And often enough, you will find that something is wrong. It's your state. Maybe it's the querent state. Maybe your mind was wandering while you were while you were randomizing the cards. Something went off in that process, and now this reading is going to be less reliable. So if you have this experience and you feel confident and competent with the cards, and you know the cards well enough to say, oh, listen, look, this looks strange. And you can be honest with the querent. You can say, this doesn't look cool to me. Something is a bit off with this reading. Let's take a deep breath. Let's pick these cards up. Let's tune in and let's do it again. No big deal, right? And what you will find is that the cards will be more accurate, or if they were accurate to begin with, the same cards will come out, or a similar arrangement of symbols will come out. And that will confirm for you, well, yeah, this is in fact what I should be reading on, right? Nonetheless, pay attention to that. This is one of the diagnostics that you can use. It's common sense, I think, and I trust it will be helpful to you. I hope you found this interesting and useful. Remember to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.